Hello there, everyone, and welcome out to the New Hampshire Motor Speedway for the Suncook Lake 100 to kick off season number 3 of the Ottercar AI Racing Series Clamshell Championship. I'll tell you what, folks, we've got 33 drivers here on the grid this season, with additional part-time drivers running later on in the season as well. Along with that, our team championship has expanded from 4 teams all the way up to 15 here this season. So I am very excited to see just how things come along here this season, because it is the biggest and it is the best that the Ottercar AI Racing Series has ever been. Of course, there's a new coat of paint out here as well, as y'all can probably tell. Not on iRacing anymore here this season. Going to be running it here in NR 2003. And I'll tell you what, I think these races are going to be even more crazy and chaotic and all sorts of exciting than anything we've seen so far before. That said, though, before we get things rolling here for the Suncook Lake 100, how about we take a look down at our starting lineup and see how things will be shaken up here this evening. Starting out on the pole here in the number 7 Save Our Seas Foundation entry, that is going to be the number 7 of Frosty C, actually. Starting to hit outside in the number 271, the Discover South Carolina entry, that is going to be a driver who took last season off but decided to return this season. That's the 271 of Felix Moret. Back for row number 2, we have last season's champion in the McDonald's number 38, and the driver who took home their first win at this very speedway last year. That's going to be none other than the 38 of Madcap back in third. Back and forth going to be the 21 of August, looking to try and take home their first win in the Ottercar AI Racing Series Clamshell Championship. Despite being a driver that has run here since the very beginning, this is a new start for him. He might just be able to make it happen here. Back for row number 3, it is going to be the number 8 Link Salvage entry of Dirt, a rookie driver for the Fun Dragon Motorsports team. And to his outside in the number 88 VR Chat entry, that is going to be none other than Ashley, not to be confused with Ashley Queen, that will be coming later on down the line. Back for row number 4, that's going to be the New South Wales Transport entry of Sarkin in the number 99, followed by one of the most dominant drivers we've seen here on the channel in the Piezo number 3. That is going to be none other than Thirds, rolling it off position number 8. Back for row number 5, we have Pav in the number 12 machine, running for Shelter for Strays, but in the Void Stranger livery here this season. A new livery for that number 12 machine, but still running the same general color scheme that we've seen out of him all year long. To his outside in the number 85, that's going to be another one of the Fun Dragon Motorsports drivers. That's going to be the Total War number 89 of Ash, rolling it off there in 10th. Back for row number 6 right now, is going to be the 000 entry of Sarah, followed by the number 18 of Sam Houston, a rookie driver here this season that we have rumors may have ties to Pete Comedy and Chris Cox from seasons past. Back for row number 7 for real now is going to be the Food Corp 111 of Ash Amati, with Gafal the third to his outside, starting off in position number 14. Back for row number 8, we have the 369 of Drop Table Roster, the same enigma that we can never seem to figure out. He's back here again, continuing to haunt us, even in a different racing platform. Starting to their outside in the number 13, that is going to be Toaster of the Void there, making their debut start here in the Clamshell Championship, but they were the driver that took home the overall win in the Mustelli Mons Daytona 2.4 earlier this year, so definitely curious to see how that driver is going to fare here in a stock car. Back for row number 9 in the number 0 Hybrid Development Team entry, that's going to be none other than Ame Sakaramori, trying to get a better result for Hybrid Development Team this year. Had a bit of a struggle back in season number 2 for both of those drivers, so here's a fresh slate for it. Maybe we'll be able to get some better results out here. Starting to its outside in the 777 entry, that's going to be Min_777, the first driver we saw up in qualifying, only going to be doing good enough to start 18th here tonight. Starting back for row number 10, that is going to be the unsponsored number 1 of Med for the Dickmaster organization, along with Sarkin. Then to their outside in the number 26 Silphco entry, that's going to be the other half of the hybrid development team crew. That is going to be the 26 of Rally, rolling it off in position number 20. Back in 21st, that is going to be another rookie driver running for Paul Gangbottom Text here that season. That is the number 22 of Cozy, with the 776 of Valnar starting off in 22nd position for the Blazed and Drunk Drivers team. A little bit further back here, we have the 52 of Garrett Hess in the Impact Racing entry for Team Mopar single car team, making their debut here this season. And back in position number 24, it's going to be the 666 entry of Zoe, still unaffiliated here this season, still running that Micro Center green and purple entry. She's going to be rolling it off back in position 24. Back for row number 13, we have the Attrition Sim Race Campus number 93 of Bloody Wolf. Of course, the driver that runs Attrition Sim Race Campus, the Real Human Driver League that I broadcast on this channel on Monday nights, making his trip down into the AI racing competition. He's going to be rolling it off position number 25 here this evening. Starting his outside in the 621 machine, though, that's going to be Deeg down there in the Fortnite entry. Driver returning from last season. Going to be curious to see how they managed to shake it up here in season number 3. They'll be rolling it off in position number 26. Back for row 14, we have the 330 of Lake, one of the members of the 32 characters or less team, running the same paint scheme that she has had the last couple of seasons. Of course, we can't live her down her quote of saying her racing line is mid. Her racing line was only good enough for her to qualify in 27th. Starting in 28th, that's going to be the 818 Cryptid Command entry of MF Beatus, trying to take home their first playoff appearance here in the Ottercar Clamshell Championship. They did take home a win last season, but it just wasn't enough for them to make the cut into the playoffs, so we'll see what this driver is able to cook up here in season number 3. Back for row number 15, we have the number 98 of Clip It here, a rookie driver, also a member of the 32 characters or less team running in that Windows 98 entry. And to his outside in the number 37 Riot Games entry, that's going to be none other than Ashley Queen, also for the Blazed and Drunk Drivers organization. Back for row number 16, we have Ikla C in the Tiger Conservation Campaign number 24, the other half of the Dorian Motorsports team. And to her outside in the number 48 Crown Royal entry, that's going to be Prince Kilfame. Then finally rounding out the tail end of the field here tonight, had an engine failure issue in qualifying, having them start back at the tail end of the field. That's going to be none other than the Dale Themhart Incorporated entry of Dale Themhart. Now that is how things are going to be shaken up here this evening for the Suncook Lake 100. We will be back here in just a moment when we get the starting command to get these cars rolling, and we will have 75 laps of action-packed racing here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Drivers, start your engines.
And just like that, we now have the field underway, getting ready to take the green flag here for the Suncook Lake 100 near at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The start of a brand new season of Ottercar AI Racing Series competition, and it all starts here today with Frosty C and Felix Marais leading the field to green. The safety car making the dive down to the safety of pit lane. It wants nothing to do with what's about to unfold here, and frankly, I don't blame it. Green flag is up in the air here at New Hampshire. We are racing for the Suncook Lake 100. Side by side all throughout the field down here into turn number 1. So far, things looking pretty A-okay throughout the field. Still 2 by 2 all the way back. No, we already have trouble. Already there's an incident back there, and we have a track blocker. It does look like a lot of the field is still going here. Thirds might have actually saved it. We have another driver getting a little bit loose. That's Dale Demhard up there having a little bit of a slide, but the caution flag is out for that incident. The field races back to green, and it looks like it's going to be Felix Marais in the 271 that wins the race back to pit lane. August coming back here in second, though. August is going to be starting on the front row for this restart. So taking a look back at our first caution here of the evening, it all seems to originate here with the 89 of Ash and the 3 of Thirds, just kind of making the slightest little bit of contact there between the bumper and the left rear of that Piezo number 3. They're doing okay up for the most part until Pav drifts up into the two of them, and that's just what kind of accelerates that spin and sends the number 3 car around. She manages to get pointed in the right direction, though. No real damage. No one actually making any contact here with that 3 machine is all. Immediately gets it pointed back in the right direction. But of course, in the name of safety, the race control officials pretty much immediately slammed down on that caution button because that should have been substantially worse than it actually ended up being here. That said, though, there was no real damage, so no debris to clean up. So going to be a quick little mini caution here, and then we'll be getting back to green flag racing in just a moment. Alrighty, you can see him getting here to line back up 2 by 2 as we get ready to take the green flag once again here in the Suncook Lake 100. All drivers still on the lead lap and still on the speedway. There really was no damage for that incident there at all, so everyone's still running here. No one made the call to come down pit lane, and we are getting ready to go green flag racing once again with Felix Marais and August leading the field to green. Green flag back up in the air. Let's see if we can actually complete a lap here without any incidents. Felix Marais pulling ahead from the rest of the field here, going down into turns 1 and 2 as it's still 2 by 2 all the way back, nose to tail, bumper to the bumper. And it sounds like we might have an incident back at the tail end of the field here. The caution lights are out once again, and it's going to be Drop Table Roster that's gotten spun around here. And they are still wrecking, it sounds like. Coming back to the line, we have more cars around up here. And it is an absolute parking lot here in turns 3 and 4, so even if we didn't need a caution for that first incident, it definitely seems like we did for the second one here. So we'll take a moment to take a look back and try and figure out what all happened here, but you can see skid marks all over the track. Everything's a little bit jumbled up throughout the field here. It's looking like it's going to be Felix Marais and Frosty C that won the race back to the start-finish line. So we'll take a look back down here and see what all just unfolded to bring out the second caution here today. So first, taking a look back at the incident with Drop Table Roster going down to turn number 1. This is the initial incident that brought out the caution here. And it looks like it's going to be just Thorium sending it a little bit too deep into the corner there. Toaster of the Void just shoving the nose right up into the rear bumper, and then no one else really bothers to slow down for this incident. Mint 777 slams into the back of him, and it looks like Rally's going to get involved in this incident here as well. Actually, not quite. It looks like Rally might have been able to get on the brakes, get out of the way here. We'll take another look back at that little ride on board here with Rally and see if they actually got any sort of damage there, but you can see the left rear of Drop Table Roster really messed up there. Riding on board with Rally here as we come back to the green, heading down into turn number 1 where all that drama initially unfolded. You can see Toaster of the Void, Drop Table Roster just in front of thirds here. Everyone starts to check up. Rally decides to go up high, and actually looks like that they went through this incident completely unscathed. Taking a look down here at the second incident that happened after the caution flag was already thrown, and it's looking like a little bit of a repeat of what we saw for the first caution, but with a bit more dramatic effects. The 89 of Ash right hooking Sarkin up into the outside wall. That's going to collect Madcap and dirt there as well, so taking out his teammate in that incident. And then everyone else just kind of swerves down into the infield. A little bit of contact there between Valnar and Ashley Queen into the 818 of MF Beatus, and then you can see Toaster of the Void just absolutely send it through their full speed with zero regard to anyone's safety. But that looks like the main victim there of this whole incident is going to be the number 99 Sarkin. You can see that engine is absolutely smoking down there, so I'd imagine that might be the end of the line for that number 99 driver here in the early goings of this one. So taking another look down here at this incident at full speed. Mind you, this is up near the very front of the field. This is for right around the 5th or 6th position. And really not a lot that any of those drivers up there on the high line could have done to avoid that. Dirt, Sarkin, Madcap, all really just kind of victims in this situation here. But it looks like that is going to be some major cleanup that needs to be done, and potentially a couple of drivers eliminated from tonight's race just like that. Riding on board down here with Cozy going down into this incident. She was running back near the tail end of the field and kind of gives you a front row view of everything that just goes wrong here. Fortunately, the wreck goes up to the high line where most of the drivers are already avoiding being, so most of them all able to get through this incident without any sort of major damage at all. A little bit of beating and banging as they all swerve to avoid it, but otherwise, nothing really catastrophic here at all as they make their way back to the start-finish line under this yellow. And now we're back here for the Suncook Lake 100, getting things stacked back up to go green flag racing here. Felix Marais and Frosty C once again going to be leading the field to green here. All drivers involved in that incident are still out on the speedway with the exception of Sarkin, who retired for a broken camshaft. Dirt has also been scored as a lap down for some repairs to her car. Otherwise, everyone else still out here on the speedway. And green flag back up in the air once again here for the Suncook 100. It's time for the moment of truth. Can these drivers make it more than a single lap? Looking so far so good throughout the field. No one has imploded quite yet, and I lied. Never mind, they are spinning back there at the tail end of the field. Is the caution flag out, though, is the big question. Yes, it is. We once again race back to the start-finish line here. Felix Marais is going to lead the field, and it looks like it is going to be the 48 of Prince Kelfame that was spun out there to bring out this third caution of the evening. Taking a look back down here at this incident with our handy-dandy drone camera here, it looks like it's going to all start here with Zoe in the 666 entry right on the bumper of that 776 of Valnar here. Val drifts up high a little bit coming out of the corner. Zoe tries to follow through and just gets hooked with him. Takes herself out into Prince Kelfame there, and it looks like that is the only car that actually was really involved in this incident in any meaningful way. And of course, they were an innocent bystander here. So that's going to be what brings out caution number 3. We'll get another look back at this under full speed here, and then we'll get back to green flag racing. So taking a look back here at full speed, coming to the green flag here, Prince Kelfame side by side with that 8-1, or with drop table roster, excuse me. And at first I thought that damaged car drop table roster was actually the one that caused this incident, but nope, he's just kind of there riding along for it. And of course, despite multiple cars all beating and banging there, Prince is the only one that actually got spun out. So that'll be the cause of our third caution here of the evening. So far it has been a complete and utter wreckfest, but who knows, maybe we will get some green flag racing going in the later stages of this one. It does look like here under this caution we are going to see more or less the entire field come down pit lane, and you know what, you might as well when the whole race has been under yellow. Trying to do any sort of strategy under green here at this point doesn't seem like the most logical or sound thing to do here. So it looks like everyone's pretty much coming down here. Will we have any takers that don't come out? It looks like we do have a few here. That looks like it's going to be Ash, Toaster of the Void, and Dirt all elect to stay out here. So that will be your top 3 starters here coming back to the green flag, unless they all decide to come down later on in the pit cycle. But Frosty C is going to win the battle off of pit lane over Felix Marais. So he will be starting a spot above the 271 coming back to the green here. But we will have to see, will those final 3 cars that elected to stay out here actually come back down here on this next lap around the speedway. Alrighty, getting back, ready to come back to the green here. It looks like Ash and Toaster of the Void both elected to stay out. Dirt actually stayed out because they were a lap down, so them staying out allowed them to get waved around the pace car. They are now back on the lead lap, but at the tail end of the field. But Ash and Toaster of the Void will be bringing us back to the green here on old tires. Of course, tires shouldn't have worn all that much with this whole race being under yellow, but we'll see what happens here for these 2 front runners as the only 2 drivers that have not come down pit lane. Green flag up the air, and Toaster of the Void looking really solid so far here on the outside, but we do have some beating and banging further back in the field. But it looks like everyone has made it through turns 1 and 2 successfully. A little bit of argy-bargy back there, but nobody has wrecked out yet, and that is a miracle. Will we be able to make it a lap here under green flag racing conditions? We're already 16 laps here into today's event, and would you believe it, race fans, we have crossed the start-finish line under green. And there was a little puff of smoke there, but everyone still pointed in the right direction. Everyone checked up with each other big time there. Big time on the brakes, but we are still under green for whatever is going on in this absolute mess of cars. It is practically a parking lot back here as we look back at the tail end of the field. This is back at the very back here, looking down at Cozy in the number 22, who is currently running back in 13th, apparently. That doesn't seem quite right. Sure enough, as we cross the line, it gets updated. So this is the battle for 22nd right now between Cozy and Gafal the third. We also have pretty much the entire rest of the pack back there, and they're wrecking once again. That's Madcap around in that 38 machine. And once again, very minimal damage actually done to that car, but that is probably going to be enough to bring out the caution here. No, that we are still under green flag racing conditions. The battle is still on, and it looks like up the front here, Ash is still leading the field on those older tires. It's side by side just behind for the 271 of Felix Marais and the number 1 of Med. I don't know how Med managed to get all the way up here when she qualified back in 19th, but here she is running up, battling for the 2nd position here. Sam Houston also up here in this battle, who qualified up outside the top 10 as well. So really all of these incidents have just completely jumbled up the field here, but we are getting laps turned under the green flag, which is honestly quite miraculous to see here today. I was almost worried this entire race was going to be ran entirely under the yellow flag, but sure enough, we got some good battles going on up here for the race lead. As Felix Marais continues to battle it out side by side with Ash. Med is our new race leader here at this rate in that number 1 machine. And I'll tell you what, starting all the way back in 19th, that was not a driver that I had on my bingo cards to make her way up here towards the front of the field, but here she is leading the way. Felix Marais just behind in 2nd, then Sam Houston here in the number 18, trying his best to hang on to the final podium position, but I'll tell you what, he is losing a lot of speed really quickly here. That's going to allow the 89 of Ash to get back up in front of him, running up on the high line. And he's pretty much getting shoved here by the 000 entry of Sarah. She is not going to be patient for that car being slightly off the pace here. Now Sam Houston doing just the same to the 89 of Ash. These drivers absolutely locking nose to bumper here when they don't like how slow the car in front of them are going. There is zero hesitation. They are willing to door their competition out of the way if that's what it takes. A little bit further back here, we see Frosty C, who was our pole sitter initially coming into today's event, running back in the 7th position, side by side with Ash Amati here, is pretty much just trying to stay inside the top 10 here at this rate. A little bit further back, we have Ashley in the 88, the 0 of Ame Sakaramori, the 21 of August, the 777 entry of Mint here, running back in 11th. And Mint's about to get turned. He hangs on to it, drifts back up the track a little bit. We are 3 wide here at New Hampshire as Bloody Wolf sends it up on the high side, trying to capitalize on the mistake of Garrett Hess and Mint underscore 777, but just doesn't quite have the speed to make it happen here. They are still 3 wide going down the front stretch, and once again, Mint is trying to hook that 52 of Garrett Hess. not successful in doing it, so no harm, no foul, I reckon, and that's actually going to bump Mint back a position or two, slowing himself down, trying to wreck out his competitors. Speaking of wrecking out competitors, though, back in the 33, that is Dale Themhart running back in 14th after qualifying all the way back in 33rd with engine failure during qualifying. Evidently, they got a new engine put inside that number 33 machine. They are now running up inside the top 15 right now, which doesn't sound like not a lot, but when your field is bigger than 33 cars, it's honestly a pretty solid place to be here. 25 laps in the books, though. We are a third of a way through today's event here for the Suncook Lake 100. And I'll tell you what a race it has been. Now that these drivers have gotten themselves sorted out and are actually green flag racing, it is absolutely crazy action all around the field here. More three wide further back here between Pav, Cozy, and Drop Table Roster. These are drivers battling it out for the 25th position back here. Way back at the tail end of the field, but still putting on a ton of exciting racing back here. They've got it mostly sorted out here. Pav has worked his way up into 24th, actually, as Lake and Cozy decide to take it three wide with him. Why not? You know what? Three wide for darn near last position. You might as well go for gold here. After all, now that things have settled out here, I am almost wondering if we're not going to see any more cautions here in today's race. A little bit further back, we have Deeg back here and Valnar. These are the last two drivers on the lead lap in 28th and 29th respectively, both having a bit of a quiet evening. MF Beatus out on the field here running a lap down. Same with the 8 of Dirt and the 38 of Madcap, all a lap down right now. But how about we take a look back up at the front of the field. Med is still leading the way here in that number 1 machine. Felix Marais still running back in second. Now about 0.4 of a second, call it probably about 2 or 3 car lengths between these drivers that are separating them. But then it's still all chaos and all drama further back in the pack as we have a smoking car up here. That is the 111 of Ash Amati. Looking like he might have a blown motor here. He is absolutely stacking the field up. He's trying to get down to pit lane, and everyone else is just absolutely sending it through there behind him. Ash does not care about traffic safety laws. He's made it down onto pit lane, but at what cost? He just spun a car out, and I believe that might be the 4th caution of the evening here. Take a look here if we can't find the pace car somewhere. Sure enough, we are slowing down, so it does look like we are under yellow. Yep, sure enough, the caution is out once again for that incident. I think the caution would have come out anyways for Ash Amati having that blown motor, but caution on top of that because he spun someone out trying to get down to pit lane. So that'll be our 4th caution here of the evening. We're going to take a moment to take a look back and get a better view at what all just went down to make it happen. So we're taking a look down here the lap prior to Ash Amati's engine failure. He is battling for the 5th position here, and I just wanted to take a moment to look and see if there was any sort of car contact or any sort of incident that caused that engine failure, if this was just something spontaneous. Heading down into turns 1 and 2 here, and everything seems fine for the 111, battling it out side by side with Ashley in August. And then goes back down the straightaway. So far, so good, and it just goes kaput on him, just like that. He's not even necessarily in a spot where someone would, like, change gears or something, so it wasn't like there was a money shift there. But of course, the engine blows. He immediately tries to bring it down pit lane, and everyone just kind of all stacks up here, not expecting a car going as slow as he was to block the field. And he is going to immediately take it back to the hauler and retire from today's event. They did not see any point in trying to fix that car with an engine blown like that. It would be a very substantial task to try and put a whole new motor in that thing here in these final couple of laps. So we're going to take one more look back here at the actual spin for the other drivers involved, and then we will get back to the green flag racing here today. So taking a look back here at the actual spin that happened as a result of Ash Amati's blown motor. This is the number 89 of Ash running back in the 19th position at the time of this incident. Decided that he was going to try and be cheeky. He saw everyone checking up for this incident, tried to go up high and gain a bunch of free spots here, and then for whatever reason decided he was going to try and cut into traffic, and sure enough, that did just not work out for him. a very minor actual minor impact with the wall there, so I don't think that he's going to really have any race-affecting drama. But that went from potentially gaining maybe even 10, 15 positions to being sent to the tail end of the field by getting himself spun out. So it looks like once again we're seeing basically the entire field elect to come down pit lane here. Will we have any folks decide to stay out? There is one car out there. There is a couple of cars out there looking like they are going to try and stay out on the speedway here. Looks like that is going to be the 818 of MF Beatus, the 8 of Dirt, and the 38 of Madcap. So these are all the 3 drivers that are a lap down from their previous incidents, trying to get waved around the pace car to see if they can't get a lap back here. Down on pit lane, it looks like it is going to be Med that wins the race off of pit lane. Felix Marais back in second here. That's going to be Ashley and then Sam Houston and Garrett Hess, your top 5 drivers coming off of pit lane. So we'll take a moment. We'll see if these 3 do actually end up getting waved around the pace car or if they're just going to wait an extra lap to come down pit lane. Then we will get back to the green flag racing action. It does look like some of them might be making the call to come down pit lane here. Other ones deciding to stay out. We'll see what these drivers end up doing. Dirt comes down to pit lane. But it looks like Madcap and MF Beatus are going to stay out on the raceway here. So getting ready to go back green flag racing here after our 4th caution here today. Ashamati is the only other driver that is retired from today's event aside from Sarkin. So we'll see how things go when we take the green flag once again. Getting close to being halfway through today's event here, but the green flag's back up the air. We'll see what these drivers are able to do here today. Med off to a slight early lead going down in turn number 1, but she drifts up and doors the 271 of Felix Marais. That's going to allow Ashley in the 88 to take it 3 wide here coming through the corner. And of course, there's the big question of will we actually complete a lap here? It's looking like no, we will not. The caution flag back out on the speedway once again. That's going to be the 818 of MF Beatus. And it looks like multiple cars involved here, actually. We're going to have to take a couple of different looks back here to see what will happen to bring out caution number 5 of the evening as MF Beatus nearly takes out Valnar a second time here under yellow. They are still wrecking under caution here. What is going on? Everyone checking up here a little bit as they catch up to the pace car and try and figure out what all is going on here. We'll be back here in just a moment. We're going to take a look back and see what all happened to bring out this caution flag here this evening. So taking a look back here at this incident, it really looks like it kind of originated with that 3 wide there between Rally, MF Beatus, and Drop Table Roster, and it just kind of caused a big accordion effect, and then the entire outside line kind of just all collectively decided to swerve into the inside line, and it looks like about 7, maybe 8 cars initially evolved, and then the cars a little bit further back there all getting collected as well. But Valnar, MF Beatus getting sent off the track, Drop Table Roster around, Ashley Queen around, collects Deeg, no, Lake actually manages to just barely drive through. But still, that's a good 6 or 7 cars all involved in that incident just like that. Riding on board here with Lake going down into that incident, running back at the tail end of the field and narrowly avoiding getting involved in all of the destruction there. Sees all the wrecking happening, pretty much just keeps their foot in it, tries to stay up high, but checks up enough to avoid 1, 2, 3 spinning cars right in front of her. I'll tell you what, as much as we make fun of this driver, that was actually some pretty solid collision avoidance out of the 330 there. So as we get ready to come back to the green flag here and everyone gets lined back up here, I figure take a moment to look down the field. It's going to be Med and Felix Marais, your 2 front runners. That's going to be the 18 and 52 of Sam Houston and Garrett Hess. That's going to be the 7 in the 98 back for row number 3, 33 and 0 for row number 4. Then it's going to be Bloody Wolf and the 776 of Valnar back for row 5. Pretty much everyone is still on the lead lap here with the exception of Dirt and Madcap and MF Beatus, and of course Ashamati and Sarkin have retired from today's event. That said, though, green flag back up in the air here for the Suncook Lake 100. 38 laps completed. We'll see if these drivers can't manage to actually complete some of this race under the green flag. We had such a good green flag run going here up until that incident. And once again, they are wrecking back at the tail end of the field here. Immediately under caution once again here. And it looks like maybe Madcap was involved, Thorium, the 000, Sarah as well, and maybe Gafal the third, all under this caution. No, actually, we're still under green despite that incident. I'm not quite sure what happened to not bring the pace car out, but we are still racing here. We will get a replay of that up on the screen here in a moment, but we are still green flag racing. Going to be Med and Sam Houston leading the field right here. Felix Marais having fallen back a couple of positions. That 52 of Garrett Hess managed to get around him as well. But Med, I'll tell you what, starting all the way back outside of the top 15, working her way up to the first position, and now managing to hang on to it for a pretty considerable margin of the race is a pretty impressive feat, even if it has been all under caution. But so far, I believe she's actually getting close to letting the most laps so far here in today's race. Sam Houston following in close behind, wanting to follow in the footsteps of Pete Comedy and Chris Cox. He is in a good position to do it as we get close to about 30 laps left to go here. It's mostly single filed out around the speedway. Our first 2x2 battle back here is with the 93 and the 24 of Eclacy, the 33 of Dale Themhart involved in this battle as well. Running back, pretty much battling for the final couple of spots inside the top 10. Of course, Dale Themhart started in last place here this evening, now running up towards the front, trying to battle their way into the top 10, and they've actually managed to do it, running up in ninth now. Third's just behind, running in the 11th position, battling with Dale Themhart. That 777 entry we've seen involved in a couple of incidents here. That's Mint down there, who is slowly but surely gaining ground back up after the several incidents they've involved in. And rear end that 3 of thirds there, just a little bit going on into corner entry. It seems like Mint is still on his streak of vengeance, trying to spin people out. We've seen it a couple times now with that 777 entry, trying to right hook people down the straightaways, or excuse me, actually left hook people. But of course, he's got to be careful because he is running for the Fuck Ash and Prince organization. And speaking of drivers getting right hooked, that's the 88 of Ashley, who started up near the front of this race, now running back side by side with the 666 entry, back in about the 15th position here. Nearly got spun out there, as Pav just up ahead has a little bit of a wiggle. But still side by side for Ashley and Zoe, both duking it out here. And this is, looks like, the battle for about 15th between the two of them. It does look like Ashley might have a little bit of damage to the left rear of that car. Zoe, so far, unscathed in that 666 entry. But side by side across the line, Zoe going to have a little bit of an advantage here in this battle for the actually 16th position. So a little bit further back than I actually thought it was here. The two of them sort of friendly rivals out here on the track. Zoe, an unaffiliated driver, and of course Ashley, the lone car for the Dragon Racing Group. Just up in front of them, it's going to be Pav battling it out with Dale Themhart and Rally. Dale is starting to lose a little bit of ground there to that number 12 machine, as Rally pretty much just doing its best to block both of them, hold both of them up. Because it doesn't seem like it's doing a very good job of gaining positions here, so maybe it can do its best to just hold where it is and not lose any more ground, try and stem the bleeding of spots here just a little bit. But still 2x2 battling it out here between Zoe and Ashley. Neither one of these drivers is willing to give an inch here, even if it is all the way back for the 16th position. But this time around, it's going to be the 88 of Ashley that has the advantage over that 666 entry. Zoe following closely behind here, trying to find an opportunity to strike. Just not quite able to make it happen here. Up at the front of the field, Med continues to lead the way over Sam Houston by just only about 0.2 of a second. Really not a whole lot of advantage here, and Sam Houston really managing to close in through some of these corners, but just not quite able to make it stick, to make a pass happen here. Ame Sakuramori back in third there, just kind of quietly waiting and lurking, hoping for an opportunity to maybe sneak a win out of both of these two drivers in front of it. Going down the front stretch, though, Med continues to lead. Now only still about 0.2 of a second and losing ground on corner entry. That seems where like Sam Houston really has the advantage over this driver is on corner entry, but then he just loses it again down the straightaways. So it might be just a little bit of difference in the aero setup between the two cars here. But as we cross the line here, officially completing lap 50, that gives us just 25 left to go here for the Suncook Lake 100. And we might just see this race go green to the finish. It is entirely possible that these folks will actually behave themselves to get to the end of this event. And I'll tell you what, it has been an absolute demolition derby out here today. And this is one of the smaller, somewhat lower speed overall tracks here on the schedule for the Clamshell Championship Season number 3. So who knows how things will go when we get to the bigger tracks like California Speedway and Daytona. Ame now closing the distance here. It realizes that there's not a whole lot of time left in this race to make a move. It's starting to get to the point where you really need to put the pressure down on your competitors if you want to get up to the front of this field. Of course, right now, Med continues to lead the way. About 0.4 of a second between themselves and Sam Houston, so the gap has grown for the race lead. And now August in that 21 looking to try and get a piece of this action as well. Of course, August's best ever finish here on the channel is a 4th place finish, so this is a perfect opportunity to try and get up into the podium. But no, never mind, the caution flag is out on the speedway. And this time, I'm honestly not even entirely sure what it's for. So we'll be back here in just a moment, race fans. We're going to get a quick look back and see what all went down to bring out this caution. All right, taking a look back here for what I believe is our, I want to say, 6th caution of the Suncook Lake 100. And it looks like it's going to once again be for the Dragon Racing, or no, the Fendragon Motorsports 89 of Ash. Well, involved in pretty much every instant here in this race, it feels like. Completely no rear end left, and this time going to just get absolutely sent to the Shadow Realm by Deeg in that 621 machine. Absolutely no remorse. That seemed entirely deliberate, at least here under the slow-mo camera. We'll take a look back here at full speed to maybe get a clearer picture of it, but that seemed to me like an entirely intentional wreck by the 621 machine. All right, now taking a look back at full speed here at the 621 of Deeg at this incident going down into turn number 1 to bring out the caution flag. Goes down low and just kind of right hooks the 89, or left hooks, excuse me. Just absolutely zero remorse. I don't think they really cared. That seemed to me like they knew exactly what they were doing, and they are once again going to be bringing out the caution flag on the speedway here. Lining back up to go green flag racing once again here. Most of the field decided that they were going to come down pit lane under that caution, but we did have a couple of folks still on the lead lap who elected to stay out. So we're going to have August and Ikla C leading the field to green, Rally and Ashley, then Zoe, and the 89 of Ash all stayed out of pit lane. So these first 3 rows are all on older tires than everyone behind them. Our first tire taker back there, of course, is the one of Med, who was leading the field at the time of caution, along with that 18 of Sam Houston, who was battling for the race lead. Heading down through turns number 1, though, everything seems pretty okay right now. Nobody has had anything catastrophic happen quite yet, but there's a lot of beating and banging going down into turns 3 and 4. Hopefully everyone manages to hang on to it. We're looking okay for the time being. And it looks like we're going to make it back down the front stretch without anything too catastrophic, but we're still really bunched up here in the middle of the field. How will we do through turns 3 and 4 this time around? Is everyone going to make it without anything too dramatic? It looks like we are okay for the time being, but we are still 3 wide here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And oh, they're wrecking up into the outside wall. That might not be enough to trigger a caution here. Yep, we are still under the green flag, as it looks like that might have been Ame Sakuramori doored up into the wall. We'll try and take a look back here and see who it was. Yeah, it does look like it was Ame that got pushed up in the wall, now running back at the very tail end of the field, stuck behind some lap cars. That's the 38 of Madcap there, who is a lap down here. But you can see the 0 Ame Sakuramori all the way back to 23rd from that incident. As there's more wrecking going on up here. And now the caution flag is out. And it looks like that's the 3 of thirds that has been spun around to bring out our, I believe, 7th caution here of the evening. Taking a look down here at this incident, thirds is going to be going 3 wide with Med and Felix Marais, who were the drivers battling for the race lead along with Sam Houston before that previous pit cycle. Everything seems pretty alright in this 3 wide battle before they head down into turn 3, and you'd think it might be Med or Felix Marais getting a little too aggressive, but no, it's actually going to be caused by Clifford in that Windows 98 car, just full sending it into the corner and absolutely dumping the number 3 machine just like that. And that is going to bring the caution flag out onto the speedway once again here. We didn't really get a good view of this one under the live race camera, but this is actually a second incident that occurred after the yellow flag came out. Of course, you see thirds who got spun up there at the top of the racetrack. Everyone gets through fine, or so they think, until Clippet comes back down the track, pushes down into Cozy, sends Cozy down into the 38 of Madcap, who's also just drifting up the track pretty much without any sort of concern to who's outside of him. Then Cozy just gets sent around off the nose of Ame Sakuramori. A little bit of body panel damage to that number 22 machine, but I don't think that should do anything in terms of actual harm to the car. So Cozy should still be good to keep going here for these final couple of laps here in today's race. Getting ready to go green flag racing once again here at New Hampshire for the Suncook Lake 100, and it's going to be 12 to go once we cross the line here. We did have a couple of takers down on pit lane. It was mostly just the drivers who didn't pit under the last caution. So August, Rally, Zoe, and Eclacy all pitted. And so that's going to cycle things around with the 88 of Ashley and the 93 of Ludi Wolf as your front row. That's going to be Sam Houston, Mint 777, Prince Kefalme, and Med for your top 6 drivers. Going back to the green, Felix Marais back there as well. Green flag up in the air once again. Let's see if we can keep this thing green to the finish here. Bloody Wolf off to an early lead going down into turns 1 and 2. Got a very good solid start there, but it's all bunched up, all back behind there. So far, so good. We don't see anyone spinning down the back straightaway. That's always promising. Going to be 11 to go when we cross the line. And there is a very hairy 3 wide there between Med, Felix Marais, and Sam Houston, and they are all going to wreck. That is our former race leaders who were leading for so much of today's event, all getting spun around, and they are still wrecking here as they all check up for this incident. That might be a bit of the big one here today at New Hampshire, and that is going to have some major implications on who ends up taking home the checkered flag here today, because those were pretty much our 5 front runners for the bulk of today's race, all taken out in that incident. They look back here at this big incident we had here. Pretty much all of the prospective race winners here for today's event taken out in this wreck. Sam Houston, Med, Felix Marais, and it all started with Sam Houston, Med, and Prince Kefalme going 3 wide. Med gets spun. Felix Marais nearly manages to dodge, but then Prince Kefalme comes down into him, so that's going to take Felix Marais out. Everyone else slamming on the brakes, trying to avoid this. Thirds gets involved in there, absolutely rear ends the 18 at Sam Houston. That's going to give even more damage to Med as well there. Ashley Queen also comes sailing in, gets a bit of damage as she gets rear-ended by the 38 of Madcap, and then she bumps into the 1 of Med, who's backing up, trying to get turned around here. And it is just an absolute parking lot here in turn number 1. Looking at a top-down view here of Felix Marais in that 271. Saw him get tagged by Prince Kefalme after that incident, and then it just kept going off camera once we got away from bed. So Prince gets into the 271 of Felix Marais. Dale Demhart nearly get involved, a little bit of a nudge for drop table roster. Then things seem to start slowing down, but then here comes the 776 of Valnar, full sending it in there. The 3 of thirds now rear-ending a second driver here as well. And then, fortunately, everyone else manages to finally get on the brakes and get these cars wound down, but lots of catastrophic damage for all of our front-running drivers that we saw earlier in the middle section of this race that presumably would have gotten back up to the front under pit strategy. Since thirds had the misfortune of smashing her nose into multiple different drivers under this incident, might as well take a look back on her onboard here just to see how much of chaos unfolded here going down to turn number 1. Just a complete cloud of smoke, and surprise, there's the rear end of Sam Houston. Tries to get it going once again, and surprise, there's the 271 of Felix Marais. And now that is a completely smashed up Paizo logo on the hood of that number 3 machine. Once again, getting ready to come back to the green here, and shockingly, none of the drivers involved in that previous caution have retired from tonight's event. It is still just Sarkin and Ashamati that have gotten terminal race damage. Everyone else here still on the field, still trying their luck to try and take home a win, because it's going to be 5 to go when we cross the start-finish line here, and it's going to be Bloody Wolf and Mint777 leading the field to green, followed by Deeg and Pav for row number 2. Green flag up in the air, and I'll tell you what, Mint got an amazing start here, going down into turns 1 and 2, pulling away from the field. There are potentially overtimes here in this, so just because we're in the final 5 laps doesn't mean that this will actually be the end of the race. If these drivers can't keep things green, we might see things get very much extended here in today's race, and I think I might have just heard someone sliding back there. Sure enough, it's 3 wide back here, as these drivers who got involved in that previous incident are absolutely sending it here, trying to get back up to the front of the field where they feel like they might deserve, especially that number 1 of Med, the 271 of Felix Marais, all drivers that were leading the field earlier that are now sent all the way back to, it looks like, 15th or so. And we see Felix Marais looks like he might be losing a bit of speed there. So this battle, oh, we have one driver way up the speedway back there. That is Zoe in the 666 entry that just got sent to orbit here. But we are still racing around the field. Thirds doesn't even have a hood on the front of her car, but this team is ready to try and keep it running, and we have smoke. We have, looks like potentially a caution flag out on the speedway here. Everyone is slowing it down and bunching it up. What happened to bring out this caution? The caution flag is out. We are going to be going into overtime here. And that might just shake things up pretty dramatically for these final couple of drivers that are still managing to keep their cars running here. A lot of damage to all of these cars, which isn't to be surprised from all the speeding and banging here, but I'm not quite sure what actually brought out the caution. So we're going to take a moment here to look back and see if we can't figure out what all went on to put us under overtime for the first time here in the Ottercar AI Racing Series. So taking a look back here, it looks like it's going to be the 21 of August that this first overtime caution is for. Running back here with Equacy and the 666 entry of Zoe back here. And so this is around probably about the 16th or 17th position. Just gets a tap from behind from Rally. And it's just enough to upset the balance of the car, get it spun around here. I'm surprised that the caution flag flew for this when we haven't seen a caution for much more dramatic incidences than the one we have here. But sure enough, that is going to be what brings out the caution here this evening. And That will be, I believe, caution number 8, if I haven't lost my count correctly here. But we're going to go ahead and get back up to the potential final restart of the Suncook Lake 100. So as we get ready for our first overtime attempt here in the Ottercar Clamshell Championship, a brief overview of how this works. There's going to be 2 laps to take home the checkered flag. If we complete the first lap without incident, then the second lap will be the final one. However, if there is a crash before they complete the first lap, then we're going to rack them back up and we're going to extend the race once again. It's going to be Mint and Bloody Wolf leading the field to green, but the question is going to be, does everyone have enough fuel for this race extension? We'll see how things shake up here. Pace cars off, green flag in ready, and the green flag is back up in the air here for the Suncook Lake 100, potentially for the final time here today. It's going to be Deeg, Bloody Wolf, and Mint underscore 777 leading the field here, as it looks like everyone might be trying their best to maybe conserve fuel here a little bit, as they are having some contact back in the back, but they're not wrecking, just a bit of beating and banging. So we are still under green. If we manage to take the white flag, then that will be the end of the race here. And sure enough, white flag is up in the air. One more lap to go, and they are wrecking back at the tail end of the field, but it doesn't matter. The race will not be extended as they were able to take the white flag. And it looks like Mint 777 is going to be the race winner for the first ever Ottercar AI Racing Series event here in NR 2003. The first ever time we've seen an overtime attempt here. And that is going to be how things shake up here. The race is complete. Mint underscore 777 is the race winner in our first green. I'm honestly, if nothing else, I am shocked that we did not require more overtime attempts than that. But Mint manages to get it done in that Northrop Grumman entry for the single car team of Fuck Ash and Prince. Bloody Wolf running up second here. A very solid run for that number 93 machine as well. Then Deeg back in third, a driver I don't think we entirely saw coming into the top 3 here. Then it's going to be Garrett Hess back in fourth with the 33 of Dale Themhart, starting in final place. Excuse me, last place here. Doesn't have a hood on their car, but they're going to be the driver that brings it home in 5th here this evening. What an event it has been here. Only took about 8 or 9 cautions to make it happen. We will take a look back at that incident coming across the line once everyone brings it back down here. But it's going to be the 777 entry of Mint underscore 777 that wins here at the Suncook Lake 100 and is going to be locked in to the playoffs. Taking a look at our race results here, it's going to be none other than Mint underscore 777 to be your first race winner of Ottercar season number 3, and our first driver to be locked into the Ottercar playoffs. Back in second, going to be the number 93 of Bloody Wolf, followed by Deeg in the 621, rounding out the podium here. That's going to be Garrett Hess and Dale Themhart rounding out your top 5 here this evening. You can see on screen here the remainder of the drivers that managed to bring it home here tonight. What a race it has been. I don't think anyone had it ending up the way that it did on their bingo cards here tonight, but sure enough, this is how things will be shaken off here. What an event it has been here at New Hampshire, and I'll tell you what, if this is how we're driving in the opening season of Ottercar, who knows how the remainder of these races are going to go, especially once we get into the playoffs where there's even more on the line. I'd imagine we are going to see these drivers try some things we would never see real-world NASCAR drivers attempt to do. For now, though, this has been the Suncook Lake 100 here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's event. It has been a heck of a show to put on here. And let me know what y'all think of running NR 2003 over iRacing and what y'all think of the prospect of the future of the Ottercar Clamshell Championship is going to look like. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time for the Pleasant Lake 100 at Phoenix Raceway. Have a good evening, race fans.